Hello, I'm James Collier from Collier RV in Rockford, Illinois. This video is going to cover the use of the FR3 motorhomes. We have two models that we rent. Everything that I show you in this video will apply to both models. There may be some slight differences from model to model as to where things are, but the general usage will be identical from one to the other. In this first section, we're going to cover the motorhome's AC electrical system. Motorhome or RV parks are going to have three different types of electrical hookups. We're going to have a 20 amp outlet, a 30 amp RV outlet, and a 50 amp RV outlet. If you notice, I've got the breakers on this power pole are currently turned off. Whenever you're plugging a motorhome into shore power, you should always have the power turned off at the box if possible before you plug the motorhome in. Then we're going to turn it on after it's plugged in. The FR3 uses the 50 amp electrical system. So we've got the 3 flats and 1 round. I'm going to plug this right in and then turn on the power. Now we have power in the motorhome. If you happen to go to a facility that only has 20 amp and 30 amp outlets, then we have an adapter that will adapt us from the 50 amp down to the 30, and that would just plug in here just like this. If indeed you're at a location and all there is available is a 20 amp service, well, now we've got one more adapter that goes on, takes the 30 down to 20, takes the 50 down to 30, and then just plugs right into the outlet right here. Whenever you're hooking up, you always want to go for the 50 amp first. Second choice would be the 30, and the very last choice would be the 20 amp outlet. The difference is with the 50 amp outlet, you will be able to use all of the AC items in the coach. If you go down to a 30 amp service, now you're going to be restricted to maybe just one air conditioner. And if you go down to 20 amp, a good way to verify that you have the power on in the motorhome after you plugged it in, make sure you actually are getting power. Just check for a time display on the microwave oven. If you've got a time display up here, then you know that you got power coming in. If you find yourself in a situation where any of the 110 volt AC items on the motorhome are not operating, there is a circuit breaker panel located on the side of the bed. You just give the little cover here a push at the bottom, it'll snap out. You can lift up the cover, and then the breakers are marked as to what they do, or you may just be able to tell if the breaker's popped, it's going to be halfway between on and off. Anyway, you push them all the way off and then flip them back up. That's how you reset one of the circuit breakers. This section we're going to cover the use of the onboard RV generator. The generator supplies us with AC power when we're actually moving, or we're on the road, or we're parked somewhere not plugged in. By using the generator, now we can run the air conditioners or anything else we want to run on 120 volt AC power. When you put the power cord away after you've unplugged the motorhome and you're getting ready to go for the day driving, you're going to take the power cord and plug it into an outlet that's right up here in the compartment. And this outlet is where the power from the generator comes from. So when you first unhook the cord, automatically every time, just plug it in right here. Now you're ready to go to use the generator. If you need to, just fire it up and you should have power. Control for the RV generator is located on the systems monitor panel which is on the outside wall of the coach's bathroom. We have a switch here for starting and stopping the generator. We're going to push that up to start. You can hold it for up to 30 seconds if it doesn't fire right off. You don't want to hold it for any more than 30 seconds or you could burn the starter. So I'm going to push this up. And there you heard it fire up. You saw there's an indicator light on here that shows that it's running. And hopefully you heard the microwave go beep. Once again, when you are running on generator, easy way to tell if it's working is to check if the microwave is lit up. You know you've got AC power. I'm going to turn it off for now. The generators that are used on the FR3s are Awning 5,500 watt generators, and these do provide enough power to run both air conditioners as well as the microwave all at the same time. If you have the generator running and you don't have any power inside the motorhome, microwave not lit up, okay, the first thing you want to do is make sure that the cord is plugged securely into the outlet back in the compartment. The second thing you want to do is check those circuit breakers under the bed that I showed you inside. The last thing you're going to check if you have a generator running and no power, come out here, open the access door. This little green cover on the face of the generator pulls right off, comes off. Now you can access the generator set itself. Very important that you do not leave the generator running with this cover removed. The generator will overheat and it will shut down, and if that happens it may not restart. So if you don't have power, if you've checked the cord and you've checked the breakers and you still don't have power inside, then you're going to come out here, pull this cover off, and there are two little circuit breakers right on the control of the generator itself. There's two 30 amp circuit breakers right on the face. There's also another start stop button out here. But once again, if the generator's running, make sure that this cover is in place. And it just snaps, hooks at the bottom, and snaps right on at the top, and you're good to go. Give it a tug, make sure she's not going to fall off. Close the door, you're set. In this section, we're going to go through the use of the fresh water system on the motorhome. This is the water compartment out here on the off-door side of the motorhome. We have three fittings here that you can hook a water hose to. The one on the far left is the city water inlet. The one in the middle is the fresh tank fill. And the one on the far right is the black tank flush. Ordinarily, if we're at a park and we're hooked to water that's available at the park, we're going to take our water hose and we're going to hook it up to the city water connection and then turn on the water pressure. That's going to give us water to all the fixtures inside the motorhome. If you're traveling and you're not going to have city water available, then we're going to use water from the freshwater tank. In order to fill the freshwater tank, same hose, we go to the freshwater tank fill, hook up the hose, turn on the water, and when the tank is full, it'll start pouring out underneath. There's an overflow at the top of the tank. Once the tank gets full, water comes out, splashes down on the ground. The last fitting here is the black tank flush. You don't ever want to hook this up except for when you're draining the holding tanks, which I'm going to go over in another section. I'm going to go inside now. We're going to talk about how to use the water from the freshwater tank. When we want to use water from the freshwater tank, we're going to turn on the water pump switch, which is located once again on the inside on the system's monitor panel. We'll turn that on. Not sure if you can hear the pump running, but the pump just came on. The switch does light up so that you can tell that that's powered. The pump is going to run until it pressurizes the water system. Once the water system is pressurized, the pump will automatically shut off. After that, every time you open a faucet and draw water, it's going to come on, turn off the faucet, it's going to automatically shut off. In this section, we're going to cover putting the slide-out rooms in and out. We're back to the systems monitor panel. There are two switches down in the lower right-hand corner. One says sofa, one says bed, and in, out, pretty self-explanatory. When we go to do the main slide or the sofa slide, we want to first make sure that the driver's seat is pushed forward out of the way and that nothing has fallen down and gotten between the interior slide-out flange and the outside wall. Make sure those items are clear. Then we just go ahead and hit out. The room's moving out behind me here. And basically you'll just run this all the way out till it stops. The way you know when it's all the way out, you hear the motor kind of bog down. It may make a little bit of a pop sound. Now we know it's out all the way. The same thing applies running it back in. You want to make sure there's nothing in the way and that the driver's seat is pushed forward out of the way so that flange isn't going to catch the seat on the way in. Then instead of out, we just hit in, and in she goes. The bed slide on this one is already out, so that pretty much covers that. In this section, we're going to cover the use of the power patio awning. First thing you need to know, you want to make sure you're not parked too close to any trees or any obstructions that it's going to hit when it goes out. It goes out 8 feet from the side of the coach. There's a switch just inside the door for extending and retracting. We're going to extend it now. And speaking of things that it might hit, it's going to hit our exhaust hoses. Anyway, there, that's run out. When we run the awning out, we're going to run it right to where that little valance that's on the bottom of the roller tube hangs pretty much straight down. If it's sticking out, it's out too far, and if it's sticking in, it's not out far enough. Now, it is okay to not run the awning out far enough. If you do have an obstruction, you can run it out only so far and leave it there, that's fine. You just don't want to overrun it. The other thing to remember is when you are rolling the awning back in, it rolls on from the top. And what I mean by that, I'm standing at the front of it. The awning would roll in a counterclockwise fashion when it's being retracted. The awning is adjustable for pitch. If you're in a situation where the sun's getting low in the sky and you want the awning to be lower than it is right now, these bars, close the door so you can see a little better. These bars that come out from the sidewall to the arm, if you give that a pull down, that'll lower the awning and it'll stay right there. You can do the same thing at the other end. If you've got the awning out and there's a storm brewing, say it's going to start raining, we want you to put it away as soon as you can. Also, when you leave for the day, if you take off in a car or something, put the awning away before you leave. If a storm brews up, this is going to be unprotected and it will get damaged depending on the size of the storm. So we do want these put away when you're not actually at the campsite or if there's a storm as you're there. We'll run it back in. As you can see, we're rolling it in. It's coming onto the roller tube from the top, not the bottom. A lot of people seem to roll these in backwards. It doesn't necessarily hurt anything, however, they will collect water and leaves if you put them away the wrong direction. So you want to watch on the switch, it says in and out. Use in for in and out for out. In this section, we're going to go over the drain water systems on the motorhome. A motorhome has two drain water systems. We have a black water system, we have a gray water system. The black water system is what comes from the toilet. Every time you flush it, that goes down into the black water tank. Anytime you use fresh water at a sink or say the shower, that water goes into the gray water tank. When you go to dump these, there's a few things you want to remember. The black water tank you never want to dump until it's very close to being all the way full, which you can check. You can check the level on the inside systems monitor, or you can just push the pedal down on the toilet. You can look down in, you can see where the level is. At any rate, we want that black water holding tank almost all the way, if not all the way full, before we dump it. And there's a reason for that. If you dump it when it doesn't have enough water in it, then if you can imagine like an ice flow, water runs away and the solid ice stays there. If you get the tank to a very full level, now it gets a good whoosh of suction and it'll pull everything out. We supply you with a sewer hose, which is going to connect to the end of this pipe. You take this cap off, sewer hose connects on, then you connect it to the dump station. There are two valves here inside the compartment. One has a gray handle on it and is a little bit smaller. The other one has a black handle on it and it's a little bit bigger. The black one is the black water tank, oddly enough. Whenever you dump, like I say, get that tank pretty full, close to full, if not all the way full. The black water is always the first one you dump. You pull that plunger out, that opens the valve. We drain the tank, listen for it to be finished draining. Go ahead and close the valve if you want to. That's the time when you can hook up your black tank flush. You got to keep that valve open. Running the black tank flush will flush water through the black water holding tank and rinse off the sides. At any rate, you don't want to run that when the valve is closed. You want to make sure the valve is open. When you're done draining the black water, go ahead and push that valve shut. Now it's time to open the gray water, and the reason we do it in this sequence, we're running the icky water out first and the not quite as icky water out second, and that rinses the inside of the hose for us. So once again, close the black, open the gray, wait for the gray water to drain. Once that's completely drained, close the valve, disconnect your hose. If you need to, rinse the hose with fresh water, put it away, and make sure you put the cap back on. In this section, we're going to cover the use of the RV refrigerator. There's a couple important things you want to remember about an RV refrigerator. An RV refrigerator has no moving parts, so when you turn it on, you're not going to hear any sound other than there is a cooling fan on the back of it. You may hear that cooling fan, but as far as the actual refrigerator components, there are no moving parts, so you will not hear a compressor kick in. The refrigerator operates on 120 volt AC, or it operates on LP gas. Another important thing to remember is that whenever the vehicle is parked, you want to be as close to level as possible, and by that I mean within maybe a quarter to half a bubble on a carpenter's level. You want the motorhome as level as possible when it's stopped, otherwise the refrigerator will stop working. If you're driving, you're fine. You can go up and down hills, in and out, whatever, but when you're parked, you got to be level. Okay, like I said, the refrigerator works on 120 volt AC, also works on LP gas. You've got 3 buttons on the front of the refrigerator, and a little digital display. You've got an on-off button, you've got a power choosing button or mode choosing button, and you've got a thermostat button. So the first thing we're going to do is turn it on. Okay, now we're going to see in the display, I hope the camera is picking this up, you've got a picture of a 110 volt plug and a LP gas flame. When we first turn it on, the refrigerator is going to automatically go to automatic selection. When the unit is plugged in or there's 120 volt power available, it's automatically going to be working on 120 volt power. If you unplug the motorhome and drive away, it's automatically going to switch to the LP gas. Now, one thing you need to remember, when you stop to get fuel, you want to turn the refrigerator off till you're done fueling the tank, and then when you've got the gas tank refilled, then you can go ahead and turn it back on. We don't want that pilot light burning around gasoline fumes, so you want to make sure you do turn it off and then turn it back on when you're ready to go in that situation. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. Oops. I'm going to turn it off. Now I'm going to turn it back on so it'll light up again. Okay, it's lit up green. You have an indicator of a gas flame and you have an indicator of a 120 volt plug. Right now those are both hollow. So if I push the mode selector, when the 120 plug gets dark, that means it's going to stay on 120 volt no matter what. Push that again. Now it goes to the gas flame. Now it's going to operate on gas all the time no matter what. If I push it a third time, then it goes to where both of these indicators are hollow. That means it's in the automatic mode. It's going to choose 120 if available, and then it'll default to gas if the 120 is disconnected. The last button is the thermostat. It automatically defaults to the setting of 1 when you turn it on. Push it multiple times. It'll go all the way up as high as 9. 9 being the coldest, 1 being the least cold. Another thing to remember about the RV refrigerator, I said it has no moving parts. It also takes hours before it actually gets cold. So if you're planning on leaving on a trip in the morning, you want to turn this on the night before so that it'll be cold when you get out there, and then load cold food in it. Load cold food into it. The RV refrigerator is very slow recovery compared to what you're used to at your house. So you want to use pre-chilled food if available, and you want to have it cooled down before you put food in it, and that means you turn it on at least 6 hours in advance of when you're actually going to use it. Oh, one more thing to remember. There is one more thing I didn't catch the first time. When it's operating on gas, okay, your little gas button shows up with the mark in it. If for some reason it's trying to operate on gas and there is no gas available, either you've left it turned off or it's run out, then you're going to get an error code on the refrigerator, and I believe it is also going to beep. It'll go beep, beep, kind of like a smoke detector, but not as loud. So you want to watch for that. If it's beeping or if there's a flashing light, then that means that the gas isn't lit, it's not operating, you need to do something. In this section, we're going to go over the LP gas tank. The LP gas tank is located immediately behind the driver's side front tire, so that's where you're going to find it. You need to know that because if you do run out of LP, you want to go to the LP station to get refilled, which you can do at most Flying J's, various truck stops, or a lot of campgrounds have LP, or in worst case, you look up an LP distributor in the town that you're in. At any rate, when you go to get LP, it's up here on this front left corner. You want to make sure that all of the LP appliances are turned off, same as when you're filling up the gasoline tank. They're going to fill this. If you want to make sure that everything's turned off, you can just close this valve. Then you're going to have to remember to reopen it before you go back and turn everything on. There is also a gauge mounted on the tank that'll tell you what the level is. An LP tank never fills all the way to the top. It fills to the 80% level, so you will never see this gauge actually show completely full. In this section, I'm going to talk about the sunshade on the front windshield. The sunshade serves both as a visor for driving into the sun, and then also as your privacy shade when you're parked at the campsite. The important thing to know here, when you're driving the motorhome, which I'm going to start it right now to demonstrate my point. When you're driving the motorhome, the sunshade will only go down as far as a standard visor. So you watch when I operate it here, it goes down so far and then it stops. It won't go any further, it'll go back up, but it won't go any further down. If I turn the engine off, now it will go all the way down to the bottom of the windshield, so that's what you want to do when you're parked. To put the shade back up again, just top of the button, up she goes. And once again, it does not go all the way up, it just goes up to a certain point and then stops. In this section, we're going to address the use of the electronic leveling system. The first thing we need to do is have the engine on the motorhome running. So we fire that up. The next thing we do, if you notice some lights just blinked there, next thing we do is turn the system on. Now you notice in the lower left-hand corner, there's a light that lights up that says engage park brake. So first thing we need to do, make sure that our parking brake is engaged. Okay, now we're good to go. The levelers, like I said, are automatic. They will automatically level the motorhome. They are not 100% accurate most of the time, so you may have to do a little manual leveling after the fact. One very important point I want to bring up: do not use these levelers if the back end of the motorhome is more than about 4 inches lower than the front end of the motorhome. If you're on a substantial slope, they will not level the motorhome, and you actually can damage them under certain conditions. So if you're on a real steep street or something, don't put them down. Just leave them up. Okay. Anyway, we've got them turned on. We've got the parking brake set. We've got the system on. We're ready to go. If you notice, there's buttons up in the upper left-hand corner that say manual, auto. There's 4 buttons in the middle: left, front, right, rear, and then the on-off switch, of course. And then all the way down in the right-hand corner is one that says all jacks. That's the retract button. What we're going to do for now, we've got it turned on. We want to go ahead and level the motorhome, so we're just going to hit that auto button. Now it's set for automatic leveling. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but the hydraulic pump just started. The hydraulic pump actually knocked, moving around, it knocked my camera out of kilter here. Whoa! When it gets done, then if that green LCI indicator lights up in the middle, that means that it was successful. You're going to notice that the jacks down light is lit. So when you get in the motorhome to drive away, you want to make sure that these come up before you take off. So now I'm going to show you how to, well, first off, let's do 2 things. If you feel like one side of the motorhome is a little bit lower than the other, you can lift the front, the rear, the left, or the right by using those buttons. However, you need to push the manual operation button till it lights up. and then you push the buttons one at a time. And I don't know, okay, there the shade moved. You can see that that just lifted the left side, and now it's saying that it's low on the right. Anyway, if you do need to do some tweaking with it, you can do that manually. Okay, I'm going to turn these off. Okay, now we're going to retract them. I'm going to turn them on. Okay, and once again, your jack's down light is on, your on light is on, and the right side is flashing. We want to retract all of them, so we're going to push the button that says retract all jacks. Once they're up all the way, this jack's down light should go off. Well, I didn't knock the camera off of its mount that time, so that's pretty good. And once all four jacks are all the way up, we'll see that jack's down light go out. Okay, jack's down light is out, so the jacks are all the way up. There are some other lights there I didn't go over. There's one that says wait. That means exactly what it says, wait. If that stays on too long, then turn the key off, turn it back on, fire the engine up, turn the jacks on again, and hopefully that'll be out. You know the jack's down light. Third light says low voltage. That is going to come on if there's been too many demands on the chassis electrical system. In that case, you would want to operate the engine so the alternator can recharge the battery a little bit, and then once the voltage is back up, then you can go ahead and do your leveling. The engage park brake we went over. The excess angle. I said before, you don't want to park this if you're parked on a steep hill, pointed uphill with the back end really low. You don't want to run them down. You just don't. If you're on a campsite and the motorhome is not capable of leveling itself, then that excess angle light may come on. If that's the case, you know, take a look at it, and if it doesn't really look like it's an excess angle, then you can operate the jacks manually like I did, and you'll come up with, you'll get it going that way. But ordinarily, we're just going to use the automatic feature and the retract feature. In this section, we're just going to go over the controls on the dashboard. They're in the center console. We have a set of switches. We've got controls for the power mirrors. You can adjust those from the driver's seat just like you do in your car. You switch either to the right or to the left. Okay. The mirrors are heated. If for some reason they're getting frosted up, flip on the switch, that'll heat them to clean them off. Air conditioning and heating controls, basically the same as what you're going to get in any car. You get a temperature selector, where does the air go diverter, and of course fan speed control, a button to turn on the air conditioner compressor, so you engage that, you're going to have air conditioning, and then you have a recirculating button that'll turn on so that you're recirculating inside air rather than drawing in fresh air from outside. Motorhome does have some little lights that shine forward on the bottom of the front cap. This is the switch for those. You got the LED lights. Those are little reading lights. There's little LED lights that are on the front end. You can turn those on. That way the motorhome looks cool when you walk by. Once again, the power sunshade. We covered that in the section earlier. There is a radio on-off button. We have a speaker selector so that either we turn on the speakers up in the cockpit here, or we can turn on the speakers outside and let everybody enjoy our sounds. And of course you have living room speakers. I don't know if you're picking that up or not, but it's pretty loud. The radio does also serve as a backup monitor. If I put the motorhome in reverse, that's going to show us that we're parked inside a building in front of a garage door. Okay. If I turn on the turn signals, that's going to give us a blind spot to the left, or if I turn on the right turn signal, that's going to give us a blind spot to the right. There are a couple of 12-volt outlets here. You can plug in your goodies. The radio will connect to your Bluetooth, and this is the microphone for your phone. So if you Bluetooth it, this will pick up your voice. And then there's a USB charger in the center. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not. The motorhome has a safety feature. I'm going to push my foot on the brake pedal here, and you may or may not hear that hydraulic pump. That's called a hydro boost braking pump. If for some reason, if the engine cuts power when you're trying to slow down, that pump comes on, takes over, so you still will have power assist to your brakes. So it's just a safety feature that's on all trucks 16,000 pounds or above GVW. There are two more controls over here on the left side of the dashboard. These are just under the driver's side window. You have the parking lights, headlights, and of course the dash light dimmers are the knob and the little dial that's there. There is another switch here that says battery boost on it. If for some reason you go to start the motorhome and you have no power from the chassis battery, you can push this button down and hold it, and it's basically an internal jump starting system that automatically connects the coach batteries to the chassis battery, and you can turn the key now holding this button down, and you'll basically have self jump starting. You're using the coach batteries to go ahead and start the engine. In this section, we're going to go over the use of the RV water heater. The controls for the water heater are on the system monitor panel. The water heater is automatic. It's fired by LP gas. The switch for it is there on the monitor panel. There is also an indicator light. I flip that on. This red light will come on. It should stay on for approximately 20 seconds. Then it will go out. The water heater should light, and then the red light should stay out during the course of the water heater burning and coming up to temperature. Okay, there it's out. And I don't know if you can hear the burner, if these microphones are going to pick up the burner burning. At any rate, this light will stay out during the entire heating cycle. When the water heater is up to temperature, nothing's going to happen. The water heater will shut off. When it calls to be heated again, you will see this light come on for 20 seconds again. If this light comes on and stays on all the time, that means that it's in a fault mode and that it has failed to light for some reason. Either you're out of gas or somebody turned the gas off. If that's the case, you want to find out what's going on. You know, we may, like I said, we may be out of LP, or it may just have been turned off at the tank. Maybe you got it filled. All you want to do is flip the heater off to reset it, then flip it back on, and it'll go through that same sequence again, light on for 20 seconds, and then going out after it lights. At any rate, I'm going to leave it off for now because the motorhome, there is no water in it. Okay. In this section, we're going to go over the systems monitor panel. That's the panel on the outside of the bathroom. As we've discussed in some of the other sections, your generator control is here, your slide out switches are here, water pump switch is here. Tank heat is a switch that you would use in normal rental circumstances. I don't see it being used, but if you were out in freezing weather, you can turn that on. That will heat the holding tanks so that they don't freeze up. The water heater switch we went over in another section. Basically, we have 5 buttons here, and these buttons are used to check tank levels as well as the LP gas level. The bottom button, LP gas tank. Now, as I said when we went through the LP, The LP gas tank never goes above 80%. Consequently, you're never going to see 4 lights lit on this. You're just going to see empty, 1/3, 2/3, and then as it goes down, it'll eventually get down to just 1. There's a battery button that'll tell you what the state of charge of the coach batteries is, which right now we're plugged in, so you see that's got 4 strong red lights. We have a button to check the level in the fresh water tank, which is currently empty. A black water tank, also currently empty. And the gray water tank, also currently empty. In this section, we're going to go over the use of the motorhome's heating and cooling systems. The motorhome has 2 rooftop air conditioners as well as a furnace. The 2 rooftop air conditioners are controlled by thermostats on the wall that look like this. There are 2 of these. There's one in the front area and there's one in the bedroom. The front one controls the front air conditioner and the furnace. The rear one controls only the bedroom air conditioner or rear air conditioner. The thermostat has a series of buttons on it. We're only going to go over the ones across the top here and the one in the middle at the bottom. The upper right hand corner is the on-off switch. The one directly below it is the mode switch. This is where we switch from cooling to heating. The one at the bottom turns on the furnace, and then these 2 over on the left control the temperature up and down. So first thing I'm going to do is turn it on. Okay, we're showing cooling and we're showing an automatic fan speed. There is a switch in the center that controls the speed of the fan. When you're running an air conditioner on an RV, you'd want to keep it operating on the high fan setting all the time. If you end up in a situation where there's very high humidity, if the fan is not running at high speed, regardless of the temperature, if the fan is not operating at high speed and you've got high humidity, you may freeze up the air conditioner, and if that's the case, you're going to have to turn it off, wait for it to thaw out, and then turn it back on again, leave it on high fan. Okay, so we defaulted to cooling. Say it's cold out, now we want to run the heat. We're going to push this mode switch down, and the lights are going to toggle until they end up down here where it says heat. We want to turn it on to the furnace, so we're going to use the furnace button. The gas furnace is automatic. You'll hear the fan start up. It will automatically ignite. It will go on and off as needed relative to where you have the temperature set. As far as setting the temperature, you have these 2 buttons on the left that we use as temperature selectors. The one in the bedroom, like I said, operates exactly the same way as this one does. It only, however, operates the bedroom air conditioner. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. There. Okay, here we're going to discuss the operation of the motorhome's range and oven. The range is a 3-burner top along with a small oven underneath. The top burners are easy to use. We have 3 control knobs for those burners. Everyone, I hope the camera picks this up, there's an indicator, then off. We're going to set it to where it says light or high. And then I've got a small knob to the left that operates a sparker, and that just fires up the burners as we go along. There. Pretty cool, they lit up on a single click there. I'll go ahead and turn those back off. Okay. As far as the operation of the oven portion of the range, we have a knob all the way to the right here that is the oven control knob. The oven does not light with the sparker, only the top burners light with the sparker. If you do want to use the oven, push in on this knob, turn it to where it says pilot on. open the oven door, there is a pilot in the oven, and when you look down in there, it's down under the broiler plate. You'll see a little metal tab that's kind of silver colored that hangs down. You're going to use some kind of a lighter device to light that pilot. Once the pilot lights, then you can go ahead and turn it up to your desired temperature, and it'll automatically work from there. I will caution you, this oven, it's a 16 or 22-inch oven. It's not going to heat with anywhere near the accuracy as your oven at home does. So you want to be a little careful if you're baking something. Make sure it's not getting overbaked or underbaked. You may have to adjust the time. It may take a little bit of experimenting there to figure out where the true setting is. I've seen these off by as much as 40 degrees before. So like I say, they're not super accurate, and with the small size, it's hard to regulate that. Last thing is the range cover. That basically just lifts up, folds over on itself, and then folds over backwards. That uncovers the range top. In this section, I want to go over the motorhome sleeping areas, how to convert the furniture into beds, and the use of the bunk over the front end. Located above the driver and passenger seats up here in the cockpit, there is a overhead bed. It's electrically operated. It will come down. The switch for it is right inside the entry door. On a 30DS, it would be on the end of the kitchen cabinet. This is a bunkhouse. It's on the end of the sofa. It has a key switch on it, which we just leave turned on. So I'll go ahead and run this down. Once the bunk is down and in place, you see there's a bunk cushion up here. If somebody's going to be utilizing this for sleeping, then there is a bunk ladder. Comes with the motorhome. And this has two metal tabs on it. And they hook onto the two female receivers up here on the edge of the bunk. You want to make sure that's clipped in there securely. That way, if somebody does climb on this, it doesn't slip out from under them. Another nice thing you can use these bunks for, if you're not going to have people sleeping up here, it does make a good place to, if you have items that you're, like say you take a coat off when you come in, you can just lay that up there. You can use this as just as a catch-all place to keep things. Now we're going to take a look at turning the sofa into a bed. Basically, we get the pillows out of the way. This is what we call a jackknife sofa. So we just lift up on the front, and she just flips down like this. And now you got sleeping maybe for a couple small children. Pick up on the back, just slide it back in place. Another interesting thing on this sofa while I'm at it, there is a footrest that clicks out. I believe on the newer units, this one has a little handle you pull out. I believe the newer ones have a hook, have a clip or a ring that you pull up on, makes the footrest. To put it away, you pull the handle, and you got to kind of pull back on the footrest with your feet, pull it towards the couch, and push down on it at the same time. That's how you put it away. Now we're going to convert the dinette table into a sleeping quarters. The way this works, if you notice, the table is mounted on these chrome legs. Basically, get up, lift the table up. You want to kind of wiggle it as you go along. Lift that up. These metal table legs come off. Put those down out of the way. Between the dinette bases, there are little cleats mounted on the dinette faces. So now the table, you just put this in place on top of those cleats, slide it in towards the wall, put the cushions back down, then we have a small filler cushion that goes in here. Compact that down into place, and voila, now we have a bed here. Okay, this one is a bunkhouse. The bunkhouse unit has an overhead bunk in the slide, and then it also has another little jackknife sofa. This one does not have footrests. Another little jackknife sofa down by the floor. That's where the kiddies can sit and watch TV over here. Anyway, this works the same way as the sofa did. Pick it up, pull it out. Pick it up, push it in. The upper bunk has a couple of metal latches. Pull those. That folds down, and that's ready to go. The last sleeping area, of course, is in the main bedroom, and that is a 72 by 80 full-size king bed. You can use your king bed sheets and comforter from home if you care to. Anyway, that's all ready to go. The motorhome does have an electric entry step on it. This is automatic. It's designed in such a way that it goes in and out when you open the door as long as the engine is running or if the switch is turned on inside. Very important note here, when you get ready to drive away, two things you're always going to do. A, you're going to make sure that the jacks are up, but the other thing you're going to do when you first turn the key on, you want to listen for this step to motor its way in. And I'll show you what that sounds like. So it's got an electric motor. If you don't know if you heard it go up, it's always a good idea to just angle the power mirror down or have somebody on the passenger side look out the window. But it is the renter's responsibility to make sure the step isn't out when they're driving. I'm going to open the door. It's going to come back out. Obviously, we don't want it going in and out every time we open the door once we're camping. So, like I said, there is a switch right inside the door. So we're going to turn that off, and now when we close the door, step goes nowhere. Here we're going to talk about the motorhome's 12-volt DC electrical system. This is the very first compartment right behind the entry door, and it's the same on either the 30DS or the 32DS. Basically, there are two batteries in here. There are some fuses that you can see. Those are mainly for electronic items, and I believe the electric step. The 12-volt batteries on the motorhome are going to be charging whenever you have the engine running. They're going to be charging from the alternator, or if you are plugged in, then the motorhome has a built-in charger, charges the batteries whenever you are plugged in. If something happens and you have no 12-volt power inside for any reason, there is up in the left-hand corner of the compartment, you can see where the red wire is. The thing, hopefully it's showing up on here with the red button on it, that is a 12-volt DC main breaker. Okay, if that breaker pops, there's a little lever on it that you will see that it is moved from the way it looks right now. I can't get in there to show it to you because I got to be out here with the camera. At any rate, if that does trip, then you just manually re-engage it with the little lever that will come out. There is back here in the bedroom, right next to the 110-volt circuit breakers, which are in that left-hand panel, there's also a 12-volt fuse panel. We pull that off, and the fuses are inside the panel, and then there is a map on here that tells what fuse does what up and down that panel. So if you do run into a situation where something's not working, you can check here. Most of the items in the coach are 12-volt operated. That includes the water heater, the furnace, the controls for the air conditioners, not the air conditioners themselves, all of the lighting, the power awning, the controls for the refrigerator, everything is reliant on good battery and good 12-volt power. Without that, you're going to run into a lot of things not working. So usually if something happens, first thing you want to do is check the fuses and make sure you're good there. Check the batteries, make sure you're good there. Anyway, like I say, without good battery power, you will miss out on some things. There is under the dashboard of the motorhome, up in the front left corner to the left of the brake pedal, there is a fuse panel under that black cover down there that we're looking at. That's on the forward firewall, just to the left of the brake pedal. In the front of the motorhome, behind the front grille, there is another fuse panel for the Ford chassis. That's behind that black cover up there right above the air intake, and that's called the Ford distribution panel. You take that off and there are a bunch of fuses in there. For those, you will need the Ford owner's manual to find a map of what they do, but that'll all be laid out in there. Okay, I think I'm done.